Hey everybody, it's a 2x4 chef, and I'm back. Sorry I've been away a little bit. It's been a little crazy, but I'm going to try and catch up now that the holiday season is upon us. And it is getting cold out, depending on where you live, and where we live it's getting really cold again. And I'm going to show you a very simple food. It's an Italian origin soup. It's very simple to make. It's extremely healthy. There's two ways we can do it. We can do it vegetarian or we can do it non-vegetarian. I do it non-vegetarian. It's just this simple one ingredient difference between making it between a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian dish. So I'm going to explain to you what we have here. We're making a Swiss chard, barley, and cannellini bean soup with pancetta. If you want to make this without meat, you will omit the pancetta. Extremely easy. And basically what our ingredients are is you're going to be working with something called Swiss chard. And this is Swiss chard. It's you can't miss Swiss chard in the store. It's beautiful. Look at big green leaves with the red veins and the big stalk. It does have a stalk on the end of it. And you're going to need about a pound of Swiss chard. It's not really that expensive. It goes a long way. You can actually cook the Swiss chard separately and use it for many different types of foods. What we're going to do as well is we're going to remove the stalk, and we're going to cut the stalk into about 1/8 of an inch pieces. It's just really easy to do. Just like that. Just really fine and simple. And I've already obviously done my pound of Swiss chard, and we will put the stalk in there. And then what you want to do, well actually what I have here is I have my pancetta cooking. You also want to put about a tablespoon of olive oil in there if you're using the pancetta, because you're going to want to crisp it and render it. As we explained before, rendering is taking the meat and crisping it, which releases all the fat, which you could use. So it eliminates butters, more olive oil. If you're only going to use it as a vegetarian, use 2 tablespoons of olive oil to warm up. What we're going to do is I crisp my pancetta, and we have 1 cup of onion. I'm going to put that in there and get that going because you have to cook down the vegetables now. And what we're going to do is cook the vegetables down, and we have what's called, again, a mirepoix, which is onions, which is 1 cup of onions, half a cup of celery chopped, and also half a cup of carrots chopped. And this is called a mirepoix, which is a base. This is the base for all stocks. You do when you're cooking. If you're going to make a gravy, usually have onions, carrots, and celery in the base of the food that you're making to make a stock with. And we're gonna, for about 6 or 7 minutes or so, we're gonna cook the onions with the pancetta up so those get nice and soft. I'm going to show you now how to cut the Swiss chard. All you need to do is fold it over, and you can roll it up if you want to make it simple. You're wanting to cut about a 1/2 inch slice off of it completely through. So you see you have part of the stalk in there. That's fine. It's all going to get cooked together. This is a very simple dish to make. There's nothing to be intimidated about. Soups are great. You can do a lot of different things with soups. I love this soup. I fell in love with this soup when I saw it one day and had it, and I actually got the recipe, and the only thing I changed in it really was to use the pancetta. I like to have that in my soup. You could also, if you want to make it really non-vegetarian, and I'm going to show you because we have to add the broth or stock to it, which is very simple. What I do over here is I have 7 cups of water that's boiling right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to have to make a stock. So how are we going to make the stock for this? We're not just going to throw water in and hope it works. Well, we have what's called pearled barley. And pearled barley is a grain. There is a pasta style called barley. You don't want to use that. That's semolina. You can't use that for this. But this is pearled barley. You can see it. It's very solid. It's a really great grain. And there's about 3/4 of a cup of pearled barley. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it into now unsalted water, the 7 cups, and we're going to let this simmer for about 40 minutes because it has to soften before we put it in the soup. So I'm going to put my timer on for 40 minutes, and when we're done with that, I'll show you how we're going to use the stock to make the soup with. What we're doing right now is we're cooking our onions, and I'm going to throw my vegetables in there a little more. We're going to put the celery in and the carrots, and we're going to want to soften these up. It's going to cook for about 6-7 minutes. It's really easy to do. You just let them sit and let them soften. It's really a great easy meal to make. As I said again, the ingredients are very simple to get as well. And what are cannelli beans? These are they're called a cannelli bean, or technically it's called a white kidney bean. So if you can't find cannelli beans, you can use a red kidney bean. You can use what's called a northern white bean, which is smaller. The problem with the northern white bean is it breaks down much quicker than this bean. This bean kidney beans has a very strong outer skin. It holds up great when you're making salads or any kind of soup. A lot of Italian foods. One of my favorite Italian meals actually is beans with shrimp. And when it's a very simple dish, is you grill some big shrimp and you take some red onion and some basil and you mix it in all together with the beans, and you make a dressing, really simple lemon and olive oil salt dressing. You mix it together and you put the shrimp on top, and it's a beautiful thing. It really, really, really is. So we're going to let this cook down. We're also going to use a can of diced tomatoes. Also, let me go back to the cannelli beans. You're going to need about 15 ounces, which is 1 can of cannelli beans. What you're going to do is you're going to drain them out of the can. So you're going to get a colander, if you have one, and you're going to pour them out of the can and you're going to rinse them off. Because they've been sitting in this water, I always like to clean the beans. The water's a little slimy. You don't want that in your soup. You want your beans clean and rinsed, because you're going to put them in towards the end. And then we're also going to use diced tomatoes. Now what I got is there's a really, today there's some really cool varieties of types of tomatoes out there that you can buy in a can. And what I got instead of regular tomatoes this time is I got fire roasted tomatoes. What I mean by fire roasted is that they actually char the skin of the tomato and then they cut them up and then they put them in. And it adds a really nice texture and really nice flavor to your tomato, which is very cool. Look, if you don't want to hassle and try and find it, get regular diced tomatoes. I use a whole can. The can's about 15 ounces. I like to have it. If you want less, use less, but use about 15 ounces with your when you're going to put them in with your softened vegetables. So we're cooking this down right now, the carrots and celery. So it's pretty. It's pretty much coming along, and so what we're going to do is we're going to add our tomatoes in, and we're going to cook these all together. I'm going to turn the heat up slightly, and we're going to let these cook for a couple minutes, get the boil on it a little bit with the tomatoes, and let me show you. And you know what, if you don't have a spoon rest, this is the perfect spoon rest, is a can. See, now we have all our tomatoes, our celery, our carrots, our onion, and our pancetta all mixed together. This is just going to cook for a little bit. We want them to mix together to heat up. You really just want to cook them for about 5 minutes or so. And really quick, you can see over here I have the pearl barley. What I'll do is I'll show you what it looks like while it's cooking. It's really, really easy because it's just simmering. And what this is going to do while it's simmering, and we have it right here in the 7 cups of water, is this is going to be our broth that we're going to pour in for the soup. So what we have to do is, after this is done, in another 30 minutes or so, is we're going to have to drain it into another pot to save what we call reserving the liquid. It's very important to reserve the liquid. look, if you mess up and you actually pour it out, it's not a big deal. You can pour 7 cups of hot water into your soup. I just suggest that if you do that, to let it cook for a while to get all the flavors in there, because you're incorporating the flavor of the pearl barley into the water, unless you want to use a chicken stock. I really don't like, if you want to make it a chicken stock, you can. It has a lot of flavor. This is a very rustic, earthy soup, and you really don't want, you know, to have that chicken flavor in there. Now, some of you may say, well, you put pancetta in there, 2x4 chef, and I'm like, yes, I know, but as you know from watching my videos, I like bacon, I like pork products, I think they're great. You don't have to like them, it's really not a big deal. Another thing is, when you're making a soup, you want to use a heavy stock pot. This is one of my heavy cast iron stock pots, called Le Creuset. I invested with a lot of, a long time ago, with buying a lot of different pots and experimenting. I love this because it retains the heat. You really can use it in baking. You could use it in your oven. You can use it on the stove top. It's great for soups and casseroles. It keeps the food hot. It's a really, really worth the investment to get good pots and pans. And I know a lot of us are on a budget and you say you can't do that. Out there today, there's some great cookware that you can buy if you want to use great, you know, you don't have to spend a fortune, but you know, you don't really want cheap cookware. First of all, it won't last. It's not really that good. It's not made that well. Especially a lot of stuff's made in China. This is made in France. There are other pots pans that are not made in China. Make sure you check in. Look, there's stuff that's made in China that's fine. I'm a little on the cautious side. That's just me. Okay? You do what's easier for you and what's affordable. You want to get a good stock pot, get a good stock pot. You can always find a good stock pot. Cuisinart, there's so many different brands. A lot of the chef series are just basically licensed pots and pans that they use. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add in our Swiss chard. Now all this is all stirred up, it's all cooked down, all the vegetables are soft. And what you want to do is, I'm adding a little bit at a time, like this, and I'm going to add a pinch of salt. You don't want a ton of salt right now. When you're using a pancetta or bacon, you're adding salt in there because the pork is already salty. So you want to be a little cautious. If you don't, and you do it a vegetarian way, you could be a little more, what is it called, heavy-handed with your salt. If you'd like, it's really, really up to you. And we're going to put all that in there, and let me get it out of the way. And we'll add a pinch more of the salt, just like that. And I have these really great high heat rubber tongs. They can withstand up to like 400 or 500 degrees. Plus, when you have nice pots that are coated, you don't want to use metal on them. So what we're going to do is we're going to, and I'm going to bring it over in a minute, is I want to stir all of this up to mix the vegetables all together, to coat the Swiss chard in the fat and the juices from the tomatoes, and what comes out, just it's beautiful. So let's just stir this up really, really nice. And I can show you all the colors, and you know, that's what makes this soup really cool too. It's very pretty. With the different colors, you have the orange and the greens, and you can see the color of that, and that's just, and it smells wonderful. So here's the simple part. We are going to turn this down to low, and we are going to cover this pot, and you're going to cook this for 40 minutes on a simmer. You're not a high heat. You don't want a high heat. You're going to stir it occasionally. I did 2 or 3 times, and then I'll see you back when we're going to put the soup together, because it's really easy to put it all together. See you in a little bit. Okay, we're back. Everything's been cooking for about 40 minutes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the entire soup together. So as you can see, our vegetables are nicely cooked. What we're going to do is we're going to add the cannellini beans in. Very simple, just put them right in. And we're going to stir those together really quick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my barley and drain the barley and the broth, which is going to be your soup base. Get all of that out. All this nice, wonderful barley out. Okay. And let that drain. And see all the barley, and we're going to toss that in there as well. Really simple to do. I'm going to add a pinch of salt and a little bit of pepper. Give it a nice stir. And then we're going to add all of the broth that's remaining into the pan and stir it up. Now you can let it sit for a while if you'd like, and what's going to happen is the soup's going to do what we call tightening up, meaning that the water's going to dissipate, everything's going to get tighter, meaning there's going to be a less amount of water in there, or stock. And you can let it get thicker if you want, or you can add in more, just add some water in, because it will thicken up, especially when you want to cool it down and put it in the refrigerator, or actually you could freeze it up to 4 to 5 months, and it's always there to be had. So here we go. I'm going to spoon it in. There we go. There we go. And you can see that wonderful soup. And what I like to do is add some cheese, some Parmesan Reggiano cheese, to the soup. Just move this a little out of the way. Put that up there. Just put a little bit of the cheese on there. And of course, for the final flavor, there's a nice quality olive oil. Put that on there. And you know what? Your soup's good to go. And there you go. So there's your Swiss chard Cannellini bean pearl barley soup. Beautiful. Look at that. The flavor's wonderful. Perfect on a cold night. It's just, you know what? I'm going to eat some because I love this soup. It's like my favorite soup. It's perfect. And if you want to add more salt, just taste it. It's fine. There you go. If you need help with the recipe, you can email me anytime at 2x4chef@att.net. Let me know how you like it, questions. Be up on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you very much.